The most important thing to do when getting into real estate investing is making sure that you're actually buying a good deal instead of a bad one. Because if you buy good deals, then you're gonna be really rich and very happy. But if you buy bad deals, then you're gonna have non-stop expenses, negative cash flow, and you're gonna have a very, very miserable life. So today, I'm gonna be analyzing a couple properties that you guys have sent me through my Instagram to see if they're good deals or not. Now be sure to stick around to the very end because I have a very special bonus for all of you guys who watch this video. Alright, so let's hop into the first one. So the first property that was sent to me is a very nice home in Sunnyvale, California, where I'm actually from. And this is a $2.895 million home that's on the market. Now immediately, I can already tell that this is probably not going to work out as a long-term rental property, meaning you probably can't buy this property for almost $3 million and expect to get a tenant who will be able to rent this out for a decent amount where you're going to get positive cash flow. Now, that's just my intuition because I've done a lot of analysis, but how do you actually get the numbers? What we actually do is go into our property analysis calculator that I made, and you can put in the numbers and see if it is cash flowing or not. So what we're going to do is basically restart from scratch, delete all these numbers. So listing price here is $2.895 million. We're going to assume that this property is already good to go, so there are no improvements here. We're going to buy this property with a 20% down loan, meaning that the bank will pay 80% and we're going to come in with 20% down. The interest rate nowadays, you can go on Wells Fargo interest rates or anywhere online and just see what are the typical interest rates nowadays. Now the thing is, this is a jumbo loan because this loan amount is over the conforming loan limits, meaning like over $1 million. Right now rates around 6.625% for a 30-year fixed rate. So 6.625, let's put that in the analysis. The mortgage is for 30 years. We're gonna leave this rent number blank for now, and we're gonna assume that there's no other revenue. So normally this would be something like paying extra for a laundry machine, or if there are extra services, you can add this number here. Vacancy rate, well, typically we put 5%. That's normal for most properties, maybe 10%. Annual revenue increase, I just assume that rents can increase by 3% a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. Operating expense, yeah, it goes with inflation. So we can go like 2-3%. Appreciation, properties in the Bay Area do appreciate quite a bit, but to be more conservative, just put 3%. In California, one of the good things is property taxes are relatively low. You're probably looking at around 1.2%. Property management fees, they are going to be typically 10%, but in the Bay Area, because rents are so high, a lot of property managers are okay with doing it for 8%, sometimes even 6%. So let's just put 8% for now. Number of units, well, just one unit. Insurance, advertising. So advertising usually goes into your property management fees. Again, this kind of depends on if you are advertising yourself or if the manager is charging you to advertise. But really, because the Bay Area rents are so high, I think most property managers in the Bay Area will probably not charge you too much for this part. So just put 0 for now, because we're going to see, like, in the ideal circumstance, how this property will do. Utilities, for the most part in the Bay Area, the landlord doesn't pay for any utilities. The tenants have to pay for the gas, electricity, and water. So insurance, HOA dues, miscellaneous, this is for like random things that occur. If you have any recurring charges, you can put that here too. But for now, assume it's 0. And the year built is just for statistics, and it's not that important. But let's just say it's built in the year 2000. Okay, so how do you find the insurance and the HOA dues? Well, Zillow listing usually shows if there are HOA dues, meaning if it is in a homeowners association, we have to contribute for, maintenance for like the common areas, or outside of a home if it's like a condo or something. But, let's look at these pictures real quick. So this is obviously a very nice house. It was very clearly recently renovated. So there's no real opportunity to gain any instant equity. Like, you're basically buying this as like a perfect product, which we personally don't like to do. Like, I like buying properties that are a little bit messed up so that you can put more money into it, renovate it, and make it worth more than what you bought it and paid money to renovate for. So this home is like really big here. You can see there are, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3, 4, there's a lot. Bathrooms, huge kitchen, dining room, living room, and garage. And like, yeah, I can already tell based on like the look of it, the size of it, most normal families will not rent this property out. So it's already gonna be very hard to rent out. You have to rent it out to someone who's like possibly really bougie. And then what does it rent for? Let's find out. Photos here are obviously immaculate. I would love to own a home like this someday in the very, very far future, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be willing to pay this kind of price for it. So again, we're looking at this strictly as a long-term rental for now, but then we can find other ways to determine if this is a decent deal or not, or what are the benefits to this property. So let's go out here to here. There are no HOA dues as far as the listing is concerned, so we just put 0 for now. It's cool that the Zestimate here is actually higher than the listing price, so this could be a strategy from the realtor to lower the listing price so that it can get sold a little bit faster, or maybe they can induce a bidding war so many people will put in their offers and then decide if they want to get it or not and bid over each other. Has really nice stuff, hardwood floors, obviously central gas, 6,000 square foot lot. Oh, it's built in 1955, but renovated. So I think the frame is old, but the inside is all new. Oh, interesting. Look at this. In 2016, they bought this for $1.2 million. Now it's over double the price, which is pretty insane. And that's just the Bay Area for you. So the thing is with California, right now the tax assessment is at $1.46 million, even though it's worth almost $3 million. But once they sell the property, this tax assessment will jump to the sale price, and then this number will increase and basically double. So if we look here, the property taxes, the insurance, okay, let's look at this. Home insurance is around $1,000 a year. So let's use the number for now, just for analysis. And you can see that the yearly insurance, if it's $1,000 a month, it's gonna be $12,000 a year. We have 0 HOA dues. So the last thing to put in there is how much rent you can get a month. So what we do is you go on Zillow, look in this area where the property is, and then instead of going for sale, you click for rent. Apply, change this a little bit. So first of all, home type here, this is a full home. So you don't need to look at apartments or condos. And as far as bed and baths, this one was like a 4-bed, 2-bath. So you want to look for like the higher tier properties. And you can see here, rents are actually pretty expensive in this area. You're seeing, $5,500, $5,400, $6,000, but we want to find something that's really, really nice. Like this one looks pretty nice, right? This one, 4-bed, 2.5 bath. This home looks somewhat renovated. I can't really tell from the outside, but it looks pretty nice. It's also the highest one we have. And just, to play devil's advocate, let's assume perfect conditions and you can rent out that property for over $7,500 a month. So let's just put that down. Like, I know that sounds crazy for most of you people out there who probably aren't from the Bay Area, but for a nice place in Sunnyvale, yeah, $7,500 a month, like, yeah, I guess it's doable. Let's see if this deal is good or not. It's very negative. Look at this. Your cash on cash return is negative 24%. And let's see why, let's look at why. Your sale price is $2.895 million. That means your down payment is almost $600,000. Let's assume a 2% closing cost. So it's around $57,000 that for lender fees and closing, all kinds of crazy stuff. So you're basically putting down $636,000 to buy this property. Your monthly mortgage payment is $14,000, almost $15,000 a month, which again, I know sounds crazy for most of you people out there, but this is the reality for people who live in the Bay Area and want to buy a home in a nice place. So because your mortgage payment alone is this much, you already know, like, if your rent is $7,500, you're not going to be cash flowing here. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, you're going to be losing money. And this is before taking into account the property taxes, the insurance, any kind of property management you have, any maintenance and repairs. All in all, assuming you had no mortgage, then you'd only be netting $1,800 a month. And that's after putting in $636,000 of your own money. So this return by itself is already not good. But the thing is, you have to add in the $14,000 mortgage payment, which means that you're basically putting in $12,000, almost $13,000 every single month to hold on to this property. Now, I don't know about you, but I think buying a property like this and for rental purposes is going to be very painful. And the only people who can sustain this are people who have money to basically do this. Now, what can you do instead? Well, one thing is, instead of renting this out as a long-term rental property, maybe consider doing something else like renting on Airbnb on a monthly term. By doing that, you can potentially double the rents. Maybe rent this out for $15,000 a month. Even then, at $15,000 a month, you're still going to be negatively cash flowing. So what else can you do then? Well, you can put more than 20% down. So instead of 20%, what if you put 40%? There you go. It's a little bit better, but still negative. Again, the numbers here are just so tight. Most people are not going to put 40% down on a $3 million home. That means you're putting in over $1 million to buy this home. And getting $15,000 a month isn't super trivial. Like, it's not that easy. You have to do a lot of work, put on Airbnb. You're now in the service industry where you're trying to rent out this property for a decent amount. It is very difficult. So really, the only real benefit to this is you pray that in the future, this $3 million property will be worth $5 million. Is it possible? Maybe. The Bay Area has a lot of appreciation potential. Jobs are really good. People get paid really, really well there. And in the future, it may be worth $5 million. But the thing is, do you want to bank on that? So personally, I would say this is a bad deal. I would not buy this for this purpose. I really hate cash flow negative properties, and I highly recommend that you do not start getting into real estate investing by buying a property like this. Now, if this was your own home and you want to live here, I totally understand that. Like, if you have the means to afford a home like this, you want to live very comfortably in a good neighborhood with good schools, then absolutely go for it. This is your life. No one's going to tell you what to do or not to do. But for a strictly investment purpose, I would pass. There are properties you can get that are this nice in different areas that will pay you much more on a cash flow basis and also has good appreciation potential. So sorry, this one is a no-go. So the next two deals are going to be something a little bit lighter. We're gonna go through this relatively quickly. The first one is this property in Pennsylvania. Is worth $325,000. 3-bed, 3-bath, 1,700 square feet. If you look at the photos here, it looks kind of like a townhome where it's attached to another property here, but at least you don't have neighbors on the top or below you. All right, let's take a look here. It looks relatively nice. Nothing super fancy. You have a huge huge back area. Let's see if the numbers work out. So let's do the same thing as before. Take the numbers here. We're gonna reset everything. Listing price is 325123. Let's say it's any improvements, you put 20% down for down payment. Interest rates for this one, since this is a lower price property, you can get a conforming loan, which generally has lower interest rates. So you see here, the jumbo one was 6.625, 30-year fixed rate is 6.375. So let's put here 6.375. Okay, mortgage here is also 30 years. We'll do the rents in a little bit. Same thing, 5 here, 3 here, 2 here, 3 here. Property taxes in Pennsylvania. Let's see what Zillow has to say about that. So we scroll. And of course, Zillow isn't perfect, but at least it helps a little bit. It's a good place to start. You can see the tax rate is 1.05, so let's use that for now. Property management fees, again, we use 10% for this one. It's 1 unit. Let's look at what the insurance is. Home insurance is around $1365 a year, $1365. Advertising is 0. Utilities, I don't know Pennsylvania that much, but let's assume 0 and assume the tenant pays for everything. Usually landlords only pay for utilities if it's like a multifamily property, like a duplex or fourplex, and then you pay like the water bill. You might be able to get some of that money back from your tenants. Okay, HOA dues. Looks like this one does have an HOA because it is in a community, not surprising here. So it's 124 a month. So what is that a year? Just equals 12 times 124. So it's 1488. Okay, no miscellaneous yearly expenses, no revenue. And let's go find out how much the rent is in this area. So if we back out, so if there's a 3-bed, 3-bath, let's back out here, okay? Instead of going for sale, you go for rent. And this type is a townhome. So we can do apartment, condos, and townhomes. Let's apply here. That's unfortunate. So it's hard to find good comps. So that right there is a red flag to me. It means that, it is harder to find good properties in this area because here's the thing, this rent and this rent could be very different because the highway separates 2 different communities and rents here can be vastly different from rents in this side. But since we don't have enough information, we can just use what we have here. And if we look at 3-bed, 3-baths, let's see, these are all 1-bed, 2-baths, 3-beds, 2.5 baths. This is pretty interesting. Maybe this one is similar. Yeah, it's a lot more updated than what we're looking at. It's also bigger at 2,200 square feet, but 3-beds, 2.5 baths. So you can tell here that rents are going to be between 2,400 a month. And let's say something like this one, like a 2-bed is 1,700. I would feel very comfortable just putting in like 2,200 a month just to see if this is a good deal or not. Like I don't think it's going to get 2,500 because that one's like this, a lot nicer. So 2,200. Let's see if it's good or not. 2,200 a month. And you can see this one is also a negatively cash flowing deal. However, it is not that bad. You're only off by around $400 a month, a lot better than $12,000 a month. So in this deal, look at the numbers. You buy for $325. The cash that you have to put out there after all the closing costs, etc., is $71,000. Your mortgage payment is around $1,600, and your total expenses come out to be around $962, which means your net operating income is $1,127. But because of your mortgage of $1,600, you're now down $500 a month. So again, it is not an ideal situation. What can you do to improve this? Well, one, you assume there could be other ways to increase the rents. Like I mentioned before, potentially renting out as a midterm rental or a corporate rental could be a way to boost the rents. What most people do is naturally they don't buy on the MLS and they buy properties for much less. So you're not buying it at market value, you're buying it for a little bit less. So instead of $300,000, maybe you're buying it for $280,000. Or maybe buying a property in this area that's very distressed for a much lower number and then doing the renovations. But overall, the price you're buying the property at and the renovations is much less than this listing price of $325K. Again, that's what Sharon and I do when we buy our properties nowadays. And another thing is, of course, put more money down for down payment. So instead of 20% down, you put 40% down and then see if that changes things. Well, it basically makes you cash flow even. So again, the big differentiator between this strategy and what happened a few years ago is that these rates increased, like they doubled. Because if you did this at 3%, these numbers would work and you'd be doing really well. So again, this deal in itself, I probably wouldn't buy it because I don't like being cash flow negative. Now, overall, is this a good deal or not? Well, what you can do here is you can see the trend here. The way I did my calculator is I have the breakdown of all the numbers here for the first year, and then it shows you there from your tier year 3 using the assumptions of the appreciation and the expenses increasing over time. And of course, your mortgage being paid down. So even though the cash flow is negative, your total ROI is positive. Now, like, why is that? It's because even though your cash flow is negative, your net worth is still increasing because the property's value is increasing and you're paying down your mortgage every single year. And this is going at an exponential rate. So as you can see here, it's a lot of numbers and it's kind of crazy. It lets you actually see what are your costs for the year? What is your NOI for the year? How much are you paying for your mortgage? And how much is your balance going down? So it's really cool to see. And over time, you can see that your total returns are going up. Like as years go by, your cash flow does increase, especially once you hit year 30. Once you hit year 30, you don't have a mortgage anymore. So your cash on cash just skyrockets. And instead of getting like 20,000 a year, boom, now you're getting 39,000 a year. Instead of your cash on cash ROI being at 26%, boom, it goes to 55%. So I think that's really cool to see. And I'm actually a big fan of paying off your mortgages because having no debt and living a very chill life is actually very, very fun. So overall for this property, I probably wouldn't get into it either. I think it is a little bit too nice. It's priced at market value. Well, actually there's a price cut because it's too expensive for most people. I would try to get a deal that's lower, possibly off market. And yeah, this is again, a clear example of why you need to do the numbers before you buy it, because if you bought it, assume you can rent it out, you'd actually be cash flow negative. So let's look at the last deal that one of my followers sent me. This deal is in Plano, Texas, probably just 20 minutes away from my house over in Dallas. The estimate here is this much. So let's do 369. And the rent here, interestingly enough, they already had it for us at 2,600. So let's go back to our calculator here. The rate's going to be the same. The rent estimate here is 2,600. These numbers are the same except for the property taxes. This number is much higher in Texas. So let's see if they have it here. So they showed the current taxes. So this is a property tax of almost 6,000 from a tax assessment of 339. Let's see what the difference is. So it's around 1.7%. Now, since I live here, I know it's actually higher than this number. There are actually other taxes that you have to consider, such as school fees and whatnot. So let's just say 2.5% for now. You know, Texas is very high, and that's one of the downfalls of owning property in Texas. Property management fees, 10%. So what I would like to say is instead of looking at insurance here, you can go on Steadily, type in the address and get a quote instantly. They're really good. Yeah, I use it for most of my properties going forward. They're even good for insurance for people who are looking for homes for their own properties because they are a broker. They're able to get quotes from all kinds of different agencies, find you the best one, and they're really, really good and really cheap. Also, their service is really great. Like they text you, they call you, and then they'll be able to like talk to you about your actual circumstance because most people who buy insurance don't know what's going on. And I think I'll make a video about getting insurance sometime in the future. You can check it out with the link down in my bio. So you can see like there's different types you can get for landlords, rehabbers, homeowners, renters. So in this case, it's landlord, it's single property. So this is a rental property. You can tell like there's differences between a short-term rental and a long-term rental property, and it's going to be occupied. Like you're going to put a tenant inside. Just start it like tomorrow and just see the quote. Is it insured? This is a new property, so you're going to buy it. No past insurance claims. So then they create the quote to see what we get. So while we're waiting for a quote, if you guys have gotten this far in the video and you're serious about investing in real estate, then you absolutely need to get this calculator. This calculator has helped hundreds of people analyze the deals to make sure they're getting the best possible ones. And if you use the link down in the description, you can get 50% off. So for now, we're going to put the insurance around $1,400 a year. The HOA dues are zero because it's an actual house. And we can see if this deal is good or not. So right away, you can see that this one also is negatively cash flowing, where you're going to get a negative 11% cash on cash return. You're going to be putting out $783 a month. So unfortunately, this one does not work right now. What is the big reason? The big reason is that you're buying properties on the MLS. This estimate is relatively high. So what I recommend doing is playing with the numbers to see what is the maximum you can pay to make this deal work as a long-term rental. So let's just try changing the numbers. Let's try $300,000. That one is still a little bit low. Interest rate is interest rate. Unfortunately, there's no way to really change that unless you're getting a private money loan, because this is what the bank just dictates. Now, ideally, you want to be in the sub fours, right? If you get a 5% interest rate, then it gets a little bit better, but we can't change that. Down payment, you can increase to 30%. And again, it gets a little bit better. You need to massage a lot of the numbers to make it work. And that's why it is incredibly important to do the analysis before you buy a property. Otherwise, you'll get excited, you get into a deal, and all of a sudden, boom, all this bad stuff happens. Now, one thing that I want to mention here is that when you do your numbers, you actually might get a positive cash flow number. But why is that? Well, it's because I bake in 10% of all of your income as reserves for any kind of miscellaneous damages and repairs. So even though every single month there isn't this $260 expense, it is always better to be more conservative and bake in extra padding for numbers, because that way you're going to be safe. Another example is you could say 0% for property management fees. Like if you manage it yourself, then yes, this deal would be cash flow positive. But I'm in the mindset that I want to get into real estate investing because I want a chill life. I want to be more balanced and free. I don't want to have to manage properties for, $260 a month. I'm very happy with paying someone else to do that job for me. So again, that's why these numbers may be a little bit different from yours, but you have the flexibility of playing with numbers here with the spreadsheet. So again, if you guys are interested in this, you can get the spreadsheet for 50% off, the link in the description. So this is me analyzing 3 properties that you guys sent me. Unfortunately, it seemed like all 3 deals were not ones that I personally would go after with those terms. If I were to buy them, then one, I'd have to get the listing price lower, which means getting the deal off market through a wholesaler, a pocket listing from an agent, or even doing my own direct marketing. Two, the down payment has to be a little bit higher nowadays. In fact, a lot of the deals that Sharon and I are doing, we're buying with cash because the interest rate is just too spicy right now. Like, I don't want to get into a deal like this. And third, the rent needs to be enough for the area and it needs to be consistent. So these are like the things you have to do to make rental properties work in 2024. But let me know your thoughts if you would get into any of these deals, and let me know what's your biggest challenge with investing in real estate right now. Again, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. Take care.